Greetings and salutations, curious students. If you have found this transmission, then you know that the Empire has fallen. There has been a great schism that has separated our people and our ways. Because of the schism, most space wizards, nebula sorcerers, and phaser knights have been forced to retreat into the deeper chaos of the galaxy. It is because of this fact that most of us are having to give hidden or encrypted transmissions. That being said, I, Master Space Wizard King Chiroptera, and expert in the Nebulaic Sorcerers and Audio Assault Academy, I will be uploading my secrets and my techniques to better the chances of my students. These uploads and these transmissions will include everything you need to know, from how to survive off of pennies to the pound per meat, and anything that you could ever want to know about casting sonic magic into the Existoverse. Now, to continue on with today's lesson, this is going to be how to feed yourself on puffer pig and moss chips and not gag yourself to death while doing so, crawling around in the wild like the scum that these ill-kinetic fools made us be. Don't worry, we will have our vengeance. For now, though, what you need to do is you need to take honey, nutritional yeast. You need to take spices of whatever you have. Let's be real, it changes the flavor profile, but I didn't have anything that the recipe book wanted me to have, and I was too lazy to go out and rob the marketplace. So what we're doing is we're going to be melting down your fat of choice, and what we will do is combine the honey, the seasonings, the nutritional yeast, soy sauce, I believe I also put in there, maybe some W sauce, whatever you have really. But the secret to this is you need nutritional yeast, honey, and some sort of a savory fat, and then all your seasonings. And what you want to do is we're going to blend all of these together with boiling water. Now, the specific process that you're going to see is called blooming. And what it does is if you boil the seasonings, and you don't want too much water, by the way, you'll see, we're just going to dab it together and make a little bit of a marinade. But what blooming the seasonings does is it forces them to absorb moisture and release their flavors into the water and into the honey, making a sort of a marinade broth. Then what you want to do is simple. We're just going to let the moss chips soak.
Salt. Steak salt, because it's got more seasonings and more flavor. And what we're going to do is come over here. Show the measurements. No, it's water.
This is obviously the blooming process. Again, what it does is, as people on the HoloNet say, it quote-unquote opens up the seasonings. What it's really doing is, again, you're forcing hot water is forcing the seasonings to absorb the water, and it's pushing its flavors, whether through whatever kind of chemical or physical reaction, they're binding to the water as they soak up water. So you're kind of flavoring it, the water and the honey, like you would a tea. Then what you want to do is you want to shake your greens in the sauce, just like the Empire shook itself to death, because it doesn't know what it's doing. And after that, we're just going to let those bad boys marinate. Now, I will say this, later on in the process, we discovered something about the moss chips. The longer you soak, they will be full of flavor. They will be absolutely delicious. However, your cook time is going to increase. There's just no way you can really get out of that. I mean, they're just soaking up a lot more moisture. And they were really good. I even say you could let them go overnight. But that's a recipe that you cannot cook without a rack. And it's a patience recipe. You are really going to have to do your due diligence and allow it to completely dehydrate and crisp up in the smoker. Now here what we're doing is we're making a bizarre paste rub. If I were to alter this recipe at all, this paste I would use as a marinade. It's got apples, onions, honey, whole bunch of cayenne, garlic, onion, savory spices, smoked paprika. If I were to make two changes to this recipe, I would have roasted the onions first. There was plentiful onion flavor. But if they were roast onions with roast apples, like what I'm saying is stick all these ingredients into a pan with some bacon fat. Toast them up, roast them up real good, then make the paste. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This paste was delicious. It was phenomenal, but it didn't have time to soak into the puffer pig. So what my suggestion is to take this recipe, make the alterations to deepen the flavor and enrich the flavor, and then I would actually marinate your pig or whatever choice of meat that you have, marinate it overnight because the flavor of the paste was really good, and when it paired with the pork, it was really, really good. However, there were those bites where it's like, this is phenomenal in flavor profile, but to enrich the experience and to get the flavors to penetrate deeper into your puffer pig, I would highly, highly, highly recommend. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, baby. She gonna smoke up good. Oh, look at those spices. I put a whole bunch of cayenne and paprika on top because I love this. I love that flavor. But at this stage, what I would do, stick her in the fridge overnight. Let her marinate. Let those juices soak in. There's no reason to rush it. However, if you just want to get it over with and eat it, obviously just do it this way. And the way that we did this initial broadcast, we were looking for the easiest weeknight, you know, because we're on the run. So one thing that I do need to mention is temperature and cook time. This is because I always cook with smoke, it's going to vary. So what I'll say is bring the temperature up to 165 degrees on a slow cold smoke for 2 hours. Or I mean, the overall internal temperature needs to be 165, but what I did is cold smoked it for 2 hours. You know, got a whole bunch of smoke flavor into all the ingredients. And then after that, and I was keeping it at 165 Fahrenheit with, you know, double smoke or super smoke, whatever. If you're working with a, you know, pellet smoke, then, you know, that's probably where you want to keep it at. And then I brought it up to 225 for about an hour, and it was still a little bit cold. It wasn't heating up like I wanted it to. So then I cranked it up even further to 350 for, I believe, another hour. And it got to be 161 when I pulled it off. And the carryover heat obviously killed any kind of bacteria or negative, any bacterial attackers that you don't want infesting your system. I'm sorry, I just was looking at the pork, at that puffer pig wrapped in puffer pig with onion and apple and spices, spicy spices. Okay, now get a load of this chip. That was a good meal. That was a good couple of meals. I thoroughly enjoyed this recipe. Moss chips, 2 confident thumbs up. Puffer pig, 2 confident thumbs up. I enjoyed that. The meat was juicy. The marinade or the paste was really delicious. Again, the only things that I would necessarily change about it was just roast the marinade beforehand and then actually marinate it overnight. The book didn't say to do that, but obviously that's going to increase flavor, and that's always an option. Patience is always an option, and it rarely is the wrong option. There's very few times where you see in history where a general or some sort of a commander was punished by the ethereal for being patient. And typically, when you investigate the ones who were punished for being patient, their quote-unquote patience was not really patience at all, but it was pride, and they were refusing to be men of action out of pride. Anyways, not sure what that ramble's about. Thank you for such a delicious meal, Chelsea Castle and Mark Sumerak. You guys are awesome. You should be proud.